So thanks for tuning in. This is part 2 of my Jurassic Jeep number 73 restoration. As you can see here in video 1, I got the whole Jeep stripped down on the inside. So everything here is gone, stripped right out. As you can see, it's in pretty good shape other than the rust in the corner there. And in this video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on the getting the rest of the body off the frame here. And so basically what that's going to involve is getting everything off the back of the firewall, everything off the fenders, get the fenders completely removed, and then ultimately trying to get the body bolts out underneath. So I'll have to lift it up and get completely underneath to do that. And hopefully when this video is done, I have a body and frame that are separated, and I can use the body, get it over to a constructed paint booth on the other side of the garage here. And then hopefully this thing's short enough I can lift it up and park the car underneath for the rest of the winter. So I'm about 6 weeks into the project so far, working, a day here and a day there, not knowing what I'm doing, of course. So, and there's a little preview there of some wheels for a future video. All right, so I'm going to get to work. Thanks for tuning in. So step 1 of the fender removal is to get this state-of-the-art scissor jack out of the way. I think there's just 3 bolts on that. And next would be the fuse box, which is just actually slid in here. And then go to work on the rest of the items that are attached to the fender. So there's a shortage of cables. Some are bolted and some are just held with cable ties. And next we'll take out the battery tray. Probably should have taken this out earlier. It would have made it a lot easier to take out the heating and cooling system, but you live, you learn, so do that sooner if you're watching this. It's got to come out anyway. Relatively simple to pull this out. There's a lot of supports underneath the battery tray that kind of hold it up into place. It's kind of like tent pegs, nothing but top-notch stuff by Jeep. They just kind of found some pegs and bent them into shape. The nice thing is all these are quite reasonably accessible. And there we go. Battery tray is out. And here's just a view of what it looks like. See, those are those tent pegs I was mentioning. And you'll also notice up along the side there's 4 bolts that hold the fender into the main body. And you'll notice that gray stuff. I'll talk about that a little bit later. I don't think that's supposed to be there. And you see everything stripped off here, all the cables. I still have to pull the light out, the signal indicator. And underneath you can see these have been replaced because this fender's been off before. So your bolts might not look as nice as these are. They've only been in there for about a year. And again at the back they're also held through a couple of different spots. And now I'm tackling the fender removal. I thought, oh, this will be easy. I'll just pull these 4 bolts out and yank the thing off. It ended up not being quite so simple. And now I'm removing the remaining supports that are holding the fender in place. Slowly but surely. Alright, now underneath here you'll see holding on the front part. Just take these out with an impact gun pretty easily. So the major problem now is it looks like the previous guy who worked on this Jeep, JB welded this fender right onto the firewall. Now I don't know if that's factory or not, or if that's just something he thought he would do. You'll notice in here there's also a bunch more. Right, even where these bolts came through, and it looks like it was painted over top. So I feel like it might have been factory and he just redid it. So I'm gonna have to just try and pull this thing off and see how it goes, and you get to watch. So the strut tower is right here. So I think it has to pull out like this. Jeez, it's on there. More research is required. So what that research yielded was the way to remove JB weld is with heat. I think it's about 600 degrees, and then, wow, look at that, popped right off. So there was a lot more struggle than you saw, but that was the ultimate end result. Now flipping over to the driver's side, again, I'm going to pull out the support beam that, I don't know if it holds the radiator up or what exactly that thing does. It keeps the space between the radiator and the main part of the body, I guess. And again, there's a whole bunch of odds and ends just attached to the fender here. I couldn't figure out what that first sensor was. The airbox, you think it's going to be easy. There's 2 bolts on top, but then there's one that's kind of buried down underneath. Here is the overflow for the radiator. Again, it's got kind of 2 up on top, and you got to climb underneath to get the bottom one. Some of them just kind of like what I would call like a screw, and others actually are a bolt with a nut on the back. So there I'm kind of getting the bottom one out, and that's removed. And the airbox again, this one just, you can't quite reach in there with a wrench. If you get a long wrench, you can kind of release it from the bottom, take the nut out from the inside, and that's a little bit easier. I have the advantage of being able to just lift the vehicle when I have to go underneath, which is pretty sweet for an ample gentleman such as myself. And there we go, airbox is out. Now I'm taking off the front supports just like on the other side with the impact gun and pulling out the indicator light cable. Now this one's a little more difficult because we also have other things attached that are in the way here. So this is the ECU that I'm detaching, so the computer, at least that's what I think that is. And next there's this thing kind of hidden underneath it. Looked it up, it's a drying canister with charcoal in it. No idea if vehicles ever use these things, but leave it to Jeep to put that in there. It's kind of in the way, so you can't actually access the fenders. So I decided to start working on that and get that out of there. And there it comes. And now I'm able to actually access the 4 bolts that are holding the fender on. Same issue as the other side. It's going to require heat to get it removed. Ethanol propane torch won't fix. This one required a double dose. And there we are. So this is what it looks like with the fender completely removed. You can see there's more goo. There's the little drying canister, that silver kind of paint bucket looking thing. And everything is removed from the firewall on this side. And it still looks like an engine. And the radiator is completely detached. Making progress. So at this point now I had a buddy come and help me. Jordan really was dying to work on a Jeep, so it was a perfect fit for us. Pulling off the few remaining bits attached to the firewall. Most of these were just cable ties, a couple things bolted through, a few grounds. There's one cable connector kind of in the center there. Really odd place for it, but not even sure what it was. Kind of just get everything pulled away. Doesn't take very long. Now we're going to start looking at what to do to remove the body. So there's a total of 10 body bolts on the Jeep, and here we are using an extra long breaker bar to pull these out. I did PV blaster these weeks ago, and that may have helped. I'm not really sure the blaster actually got to the threads, but amazingly these came out, and I'm sure these have never been out in the lifetime of the Jeep. So work these out slowly, wiggle them back and forth. I'm about to make a mistake here that I'll tell you about when I get there. That'll make this a lot worse, but do these by hand, do them slow, don't push your luck, and this will go well. Once you get them started, if you're confident you can use the impact to pull them out, I'd still not recommend that, and you'll see why in a second. So I got that side done. Coming over to this side, first one came out easy. Now Jordan started working on the second one here with the breaker bar, and it did start to loosen itself up. And at this point I got cocky and I said, well, let's just throw the impact on there. And then all of a sudden it started spinning freely, and it spun freely. We worked on this one for hours. Now I'm not going to regale you with that whole story, but we ended up leaving that one for now and finishing the other one on the side and then two on the back. You know, see how he's working it and just kind of wiggling it? That's how you want to take it out. Make sure your vehicle's blocked at this point too, by the way. So there we go, that one came out as well. Alright, so we're going to have to take some extreme measures in order to get this one out. So we busted out the angle grinder to attempt to grind the head off of the bolt.
Oh shit.
Going that well, is it?
Well, I'm getting the bottom part off, but then there's still going to be more.
So eventually we did get it off. The remains of the top part of the bolt are kind of lodged inside the body, so I'm going to have to drill a hole in the body to get access to it. Now my other friend Corey came over here to help us lift the body off, and show you how that goes here. In the end, it's a good thing you're going to need at least 3, if not 4 people. So right away we discovered there was something still attached. It turned out there were 2 things. One was the on the underside, I'll show you a picture here. So is the hanging bracket for the exhaust, as well as on the left side you can see there's that parking brake cable. It also attaches. But lo and behold, that wasn't it, because we go and we try again. And I totally forgot that there's a parking brake cable that comes up through the footwell by the driver's side, and that also had to get removed. See, here's me finding it now. So a screwdriver and I could push that out. It just had a rubber grommet that lives inside the frame after that. Don't know why I hadn't done this earlier. I saw that the whole time and knew it would be a problem. But all right, here we go. So it was fairly heavy. The hard part's actually getting up over the gear shifts, which I wasn't able to remove. You can kind of see it wobbling around in there. And now, of course, I got to go up and over, and that was a bit of a challenge, but we managed to get it done. I kind of recommend taking off the windshield. I didn't do that because I didn't kind of want to foul up the nice red bolts, but I'm going to have to take it off to paint anyway, so I don't know why I just didn't do it. And here we are, getting off the last little bit. Don't know what that was, probably broke it. And now it's on the ground. So we just set this on a couple wheel dollies I had to help move it around, and I'm going to store it underneath the rest of the Jeep for the time being. All right, and there it goes. So the body is now completely separated from the Jeep. Pretty happy about that, and I can move on to the next phase of the project. So now we'll just wrap up. And welcome back. As you saw from before, we got the body removed from the frame, and I got the 2 stacked here in the background. There seems to be a Jurassic Jack goblin up there hiding behind the tire. No better playground than the shop. That's what we were hoping for from this project. So just a quick overview, a couple of the fenders, the body, terrific shape of course because it has been worked on before. And then the frame itself is actually quite striking, although there's a little bit of corrosion on the top side. Everywhere else looks excellent. So I did contact the previous owner and he said that there was some sort of product put on the frame, although he didn't do anything else to the mechanical aspects of the Jeep. The engine is completely stock, has not been touched.
This is the engine.
That's the engine, correct. Ended up not tackling the radiator just yet. It'll be for a future video. Not sure which way we're going to go for the next stage of this project. Either jump into refinishing the body or working on the engine. Not sure. I guess you're going to have to stay tuned to see what we tackle next. Either way, we're making good progress. We're about 6 weeks into the project here. Coming up on Christmas and 4 more sleeps?
Yes.
And you already got your present, this thing. That's what you wanted, right? No?
Yes.
Good. All right. Jeep parts under the tree. Okay, so thanks for watching. Please click subscribe. Hang in there with us. Hopefully we'll have this thing on the road come springtime. Bye.
And always subscribe.
Train him well.